Hello there, it's Samantha. So today I'm coming to you with my April wrap-up and my May TBR. You might have heard me say before that I hate TBRs, but for some reason I'm just in the mood to make one. I don't know if I'll stick to it, but I mean a lot of the books that are on my TBR I'm super excited to read, so hopefully I get to them all. So yeah. But anyway, let's just go ahead and get on into the video. So in April I only read 2 books, and that was because I went to Amsterdam twice and I didn't do any reading when I was there, and also I was feeling really slumpy in April because basically I was trying to read Renegades by Marissa Meyer, but because I got that book for review I was like forcing myself to read it, but I wasn't really in the mood for it, so it kind of put me into a bit of a slump. And also I started rewatching Brooklyn Nine-Nine because it's on Netflix, so I rewatched seasons 1 through 4. Pretty much all in April. Oh my god, that show is so good. I love it so much. But yeah, I didn't get much reading done. Anyway, but I did manage to finish 2 books. So the first book that I finished was Clean by Juno Dawson. This book is about a girl called Lexi who is a Russian heiress to this like chain of hotels, I believe. And basically because she has all this money and stuff, she's got really into her partying and also her drugs. And unfortunately she has to go into rehab for drug addiction, and this book just follows her journey as she's in the rehab facility, and it also follows all of the other characters in the rehab facility. And I really enjoyed this book. I will say it was not my favorite thing in the world, but I did enjoy it for the most part because it didn't just follow drug addiction, which I was a bit wary of, because for me, like, addiction to drugs, I just don't understand it. Like, obviously I understand that drugs are addictive, but I don't understand why you would start taking drugs in the first place, because to me it's just really stupid because it's illegal and bad for you, and yeah, it just makes no sense to me personally. So I was a bit like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this character because I feel like drug addiction is it's just not something relatable for me at all, but I thought it'd be interesting to read about. So I actually requested this book from netgalley.co.uk and I received it in exchange for an honest review. But yeah, I did really enjoy the book. I only give it 3 out of 5 stars because I wasn't a huge fan of the character, the main character Lexi. What I did really enjoy about this book was that, as I said, we followed other people in the rehab facility, and it wasn't just for drug addiction. We had alcoholics, we had someone who was addicted to sex, we had someone who was anorexic, and we also had someone who suffered from binge eating disorder, which I feel like is super important because I have never seen that in a book before. This book was really good in terms of like diversity because we had characters of color, we had a trans character, we also had people suffering from all sorts of different things. So it was really an interesting read, but I did only give it a 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read, I actually started on Friday and I finished it on Sunday night, and that was Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I loved this book. So I've had this book for a while, but I put it in storage when I moved, and I finally got it out of storage, and oh my god, this book was so good. I'm not going to go into what this book is about because it's like so crazy, and I really think that you should just go in not knowing anything about it, because that's what I did and I loved it. I've obviously heard of the book because there's been loads of hype around the series. I never really knew much apart from the fact that it's a sci-fi book and it's about some people on spaceships who are being chased by this evil spaceship, and it follows 2 characters who broke up on the day that their planet got destroyed and they went on to these 2 spaceships, and that's all I knew. And this book is hilarious, it is action-packed, it is also gruesome and like sad, but it's also hilarious. It's so good, and it's told in the coolest format. Like, you've got all of this business, it's like the coolest format. It's so different from anything I've ever read. It was just great, and if you like sci-fi adventure, you'll like this. I always gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. Now moving on to my TBR. I think I have 6 books on my TBR for May. These are like my top books, like must get to them. And the first one on the list is of course Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is obviously the sequel to Illuminae, but this book actually follows different characters, but it does include some of the characters from the first book, which is very exciting. I'm very excited to read this because obviously it's told in the exact same format. I imagine it's gonna have the same level of humor and fast-paced action, so I'm very excited to read it. The next book on my TBR is actually Geekerella by Ashley Poston. This book came out last year in America, but it has not yet come out in England, so I actually got a free advanced copy from netgalley.co.uk in exchange for an honest review. So I'm going to be reading that hopefully in May so I can get a review up ASAP, either on my Goodreads/blog and then maybe on here if I can get my stuff together. But obviously I'm about to be into exam season, so like videos may be infrequent. I also have 4 books that I've pre-ordered. I was on a book buying ban, or like read 5 before you buy kind of ban, and now I'm going to be breaking that by buying 3 extra books, but I just had to pre-order all of these books because I'm so excited for every single one of them. And the first one on my list is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J Maas. If you're new to my channel, you may not know that I love Sarah J Maas's books. I especially love the ACOTAR series. This is a new novella in the series. I'm just so excited to read this. I don't even know what's going to happen in the book because I haven't looked it up. I just know that it's A Court of Thorns and Roses, so yeah, I'm gonna read it. The next book that I've pre-ordered is Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. This is the sequel to Scythe, which I read in February, I think, or maybe March. But either way, I read it. I loved it. It was so fantastic. Like, I already want to reread it because it was that good. But Thunderhead doesn't come out in the UK until the 3rd of May, so I've pre-ordered that and I will be reading it ASAP. Also coming out on the 3rd of May is Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. I love Becky Albertalli's books, and this is kind of like a companion sequel to Love, Simon, but it follows Leah, who is Simon's best friend, and I'm super excited to read this book. I've obviously got that pre-ordered. I haven't read like nice, fun, fluffy contemporary in forever, so I'm very excited to get to this. And finally, the last book that comes out on May 3rd, and the last book that I have pre-ordered is Royals by Rachel Hawkins. Now, I've never read a book by Rachel Hawkins before, and I didn't even finish reading the synopsis for this book because I was already like drawn in and wanted to read this. But basically, from what I gathered from like the 2 lines I read of the synopsis, this book follows a girl whose older sister is about to get married to a prince in England, I think. And so she has to go over to England for the royal wedding, and obviously she meets a boy while she's over here for the preparations. And I don't know if it's I think it might be the prince's like younger brother who's a bit like not very royal. He doesn't behave like a royal, and it just sounds like so much fun and like kind of complete trash, but like that's what I love. I'm very excited to read this book. It sounds like so much fun. So those are all the books that I'm planning on reading in May, and all the books that I did read in April, all 2 of them. But yes, anyway, that is going to be all for today's video, so I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below. If you're planning on reading any of the same books as me in May, let me know and we could do a buddy read. That would be awesome. I've actually never done a buddy read, and I've been on YouTube for 4 years now, so like that would be pretty cool to do a buddy read. But yeah, that's going to be all, so I will see you very soon with another video. Bye!